Preparing to live stream. Okay, let me just, meeting streaming now live on YouTube. Let me just check. Live. Yep, we are live. Let me just turn the sound off. Sorry, Dr. Allie, this is a real...
I know myself.
I just need to turn the volume down, otherwise we get an echo. There we go. Brilliant. And there's a lag as well. So when I look at myself, I can't tell which is what. Well, welcome, Dr. Allie. I know you're going to start with an absolutely fascinating fact, which I didn't actually know.
Did you know that according to a recent study, 75% of doctors report experiencing burnout at some point in their careers? This alarming statistic highlights the pressing need for a transformation in the way we approach healthcare, especially when it comes to empowering and supporting doctors who strive to practice in a more holistic, patient-centered manner.
75%, that's staggering. That's really staggering. And it's quite shocking as well, I think, to think that it's a service that provides health, and yet it has such a high 75% burnout rate. That's really quite significant.
And it tends to be the doctors who have a more patient-centered approach to caring for patients because they give more of themselves.
Yeah.
So if you are a standoffish doctor with no bedside manner, then you'll actually survive the system better.
Wow, that's not really what we want, is it?
Well, it's not, certainly not what I want as a patient or as a doctor. It doesn't give me the job satisfaction that I want, and it doesn't give me the connection as a patient with the practitioner that I want. It doesn't give me the trust that I need to be able to express how I'm feeling.
I was listening to the news this morning, even though I'm in Thailand, and they were talking about the strikes that were coming up in the health service. And this part, sometimes I think that, I don't know if you've experienced this or think this, or it might just be in my head, is that people seem to think that people shouldn't go on strike because they earn a good wage, which I find ludicrous.
And these things are all relative, you know, because when you actually calculate it, the junior doctors, because they're working such long hours, they're actually earning less than your dustman. Yeah.
And it's not right anyway. I don't think thinking that, I don't think it's, for me personally, I don't think it's the right way to think about it, because you're talking about someone's health, how they're working, their work ethics. It's much more complicated than what someone's salary is. Just because they earn a reasonable amount of money, that doesn't mean to say you should put them under significant stress. It seems counterintuitive to me.
Yeah, and it's also buying into this scarcity, this attitude to wealth that so many people have. That they're not seeing how much potential they have.
Sorry, I know I've digressed a little bit.
Yes, we have a bit, haven't we?
It's because I was listening to it this morning and I thought,
yes, it's all relevant.
It's all relevant. When you think of trauma, everyone has a slightly different take on self-esteem and self-worth. How is it that you see it impacting on people and playing out?
Well, it certainly affects our self-confidence, doesn't it? I mean, to share my own story, I burnt out as a full-time GP in my own practice, because by the time I left my practice, which was after the burnout, I spent 17 years in my own UK general practice as a partner. So I owned the business, trying to show my colleagues that we need to work in a more holistic way. having discovered this myself through my broken back at the age of 17. So I knew that pharmaceuticals aren't the answer to health. I had to use things like journaling and creative writing, acupuncture, traditional Chinese medicine, chiropractic, Alexander technique, as well as physiotherapy and painkillers to be able to cope, and lifestyle adjustment, massive lifestyle adjustment. And so I've been trying to explain to my colleagues that, you know, you need a more holistic way. We need to help patients to be more proactive about their health. And nowadays, most patients want to be more. There are still some who aren't, and this is where the NHS is never going to win. But most patients, certainly my clients in my private practice, they want to do more to be proactive about their health. But what happened was, in my own partnership, I was criticised for bringing my own dog, who would now be called a therapy dog, into the practice as I recovered from burnout. And I only brought her in for when I was doing the admin. I got criticised for recommending nutritional supplements and detoxing personal care products to patients. I got criticised for suggesting a gluten-free anti-inflammatory diet for patients. And ultimately, I even got disciplined for recommending probiotics to patients after courses of antibiotics. I even had one of my business partners storm out of a practice meeting after shouting at me that patients shouldn't even be allowed to choose homeopathy, even if they were paying for it themselves. I was already an introvert when I went to medical school. So to go to medical school with a broken back as an introvert, where I wanted to fit in, and instead I had to lie down for lectures, that affects your self-esteem to start with. But all of these additional things, it just makes you feel small, makes you feel invisible, but it also makes you fear being visible, and that doesn't help if you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Wow. It's almost like if you don't fit into the box, if you don't fit into the mold, it's like you have to fit in, otherwise you don't fit in, which is medicine's holistic, isn't it? It's well,
no,
I think
not
being
not
yeah.
not
I think not
the allopathic medical model, no. But I feel, but you know, I feel, and this is what causes burnout in corporates as well, I feel that all the corporate systems and the professions are built around a masculine model of competition, efficiency, and none of the heart to heart that is actually true healing. And that's why more women burn out in these things, or I feel more women burn out, because we want to be more compassionate, whether it's more compassionate to our employees or more compassionate to our patients or to our colleagues, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It must have been a really challenging time for you during that period.
And continues to be, because what really freed me was leaving my practice and finding out how easy locums are, and how wonderful it is to be able to leave at 5 o'clock instead of 10 o'clock at night, you know.
Significant
freeing myself up. I've just completed a 2-year maternity locum, which was doing more of the admin, but it was just nothing like being a partner and having to make decisions about the finances and the practice. But then, you know, I am an entrepreneur, heart and soul. My parents, it was my mum's idea. My parents started the first farm shop in the country. So as an entrepreneur, I was never satisfied with just being a salaried doctor. But as an introvert with an entrepreneurial spark, it's a tough journey, dogged by fear of being visible in my business on social media, because of the fear of other doctors reporting me to the GMC for being different, for having a different approach. And I'm an energy healer as well, so I bring energy healing into my practice. But I'm still here, but still less visible than I would ideally be if I hadn't gone through all that, reducing my self-esteem, you know.
Yeah, that was the next question I was going to ask you, because that would have been going over quite a long period of time. What has been the impact of those experiences on you now? And you're saying that you're not as visible. I think this is what I heard you say, that you're not as visible as you would like to be because of everything else that is still playing out around you.
Yeah, absolutely. And doctors do get reported to the GMC for suggesting other ways, you know. constantly, and they get stopped, they get cut off from social media. I was banned from LinkedIn 3 years ago for suggesting that supplements can help with hot flashes.
It's hard to, it's so hard to imagine.
Except they wouldn't explain why I was being banned. They just kept pointing to the post about supplements helping hot flashes, but they didn't actually say what was wrong with it.
Right.
They just banned me.
Know. Yeah. Yeah, because they wouldn't tell me. They wouldn't know. It just, you know, over the last years has just shown me how restrictive things are and how the systems don't help people to heal. If anything, I think they keep them in a victim-like state. It reminds me of, I was on antidepressants for 20 years, and it's like, why was I on antidepressants for 20 years? Why was nothing else ever recommended? Why was I even on them for 20 years? It's like, and that's quite, I think that's quite common.
And time and time again, when as I say, I'm a GP locum as well as having my private women's hormone practice in functional medicine and healing. But time and again in general practice, patient after patient after patient say, oh my goodness, I've never had somebody explain things like that. I send people a text with loads of links to other things that can help them with anxiety. And one of the exercises that I recommend for people with anxiety and depression is the one that we're going to come to at the end. And I recommend that to NHS patients as well. Although I know that I could get my hand slapped and, you know, complaints, you know, because patients complain about that as well. Patients who are expecting just to be given a prescription make a complaint against a doctor who suggests that they need to be proactive about their health, even if it's something like mental health, where no prescription's ever going to make you better. It may just get you to a point where you can start to make yourself better, but the medication's never going to make you better. It's like with painkillers.
Especially with the evidence that's coming out now. Very, very, very scary. Very scary when you think, so navigating those experiences, how you've mentioned about the visibility piece, how do you see it still playing out?
The main thing is visibility, and, you know, just being able to do Facebook Lives and Reels and TikTok, because I just feel inhibited because of knowing that there are doctors out there who feel that patients shouldn't be allowed to choose self-care, self-help, herbs, you know, all the things, acupuncture, EFT, emotional freedom technique, all these things that really can help rather than just sticking a sticking plaster over it all. And, you know, part of our responsibility as a doctor is not to criticize other doctors. But how can you not criticize other doctors when they are still prescribing HRT with oral estrogen, or prescribing omeprazole for stomach acid without any actual plan for people to reduce their alcohol intake and change their eating habits so that they don't get the acid reflux? But that's partly because of the time factor. And that is also partly because we're still stuck in this medical model of one-to-one 10-minute appointments, rather than a series of group sessions, say 6 or 8 group sessions an hour long, where you've got 20 people learning and for an hour and really understanding about their health and also supporting each other. And that's also what I do within my private practice. The group coaching is just so profound and powerful. We all need community, and it's something that so many of us are missing in our lives, especially after the last 3 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which really impacted community and connection, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And it feels like it's so much more rewarding, and it feels like a really great model as well, because you've got the support of the individuals, you've got the mentoring, you've got the open discussion, and that's ultimately how we learn. That's ultimately how things change, is that through the conversation, through the discussion.
Yeah. And also education can be added virtually, you know, really understanding why you've got, say, a mental health issue, say depression or anxiety, and why this or that process that you do for yourself could help, and why taking time out in nature, what's now called nature bathing, but you know, it's what I've recommended for 30 years. You know, being amongst nature helps you to ground yourself, especially if you take your shoes off, you know, ground yourself in nature, surround yourself with that green, look up at an oak tree or look out at the waves. It just helps you put your own issues into perspective.
Yeah,
absolutely. You know, we've got a yew tree in our garden that's probably been around for 1,000 years. Makes our lifetime seem small.
Yeah, insignificant. Talking about insignificant but very significant.
Yeah.
Talking about how people can help themselves, you've touched on an exercise it is that you can share to help people to deal with the situation that they're in, or, you know, have some clarity.
Yes, and it really helped me right from when I was 17, because anybody who's experienced chronic pain knows how depressing it can be, and how frustrating it can be. If you're and I was at the beginning of my career, and I couldn't see how I was ever even going to finish medical school. So it's journaling. You know, it's a simple exercise that many people recommend, but there are several ways to do it, and each one can be helpful in a different way. One that I recommend that is based on Julia Cameron's morning pages is just first thing in the morning, just get a blank a journal out that and just let out your thoughts, 3 pages, without editing it, without thinking someone's going to read this or I'm going to read it, without ever reading it back yourself. No one's going to judge you, but it just helps to get all the screwed up mess of ideas and thoughts that you've woken up with straightened out, and it just allows things to straighten out enough for you to get on with your day, whether it's allowing creativity to flow if you're a creator, or whether it's allowing you to get on with your relationships, or if you're in a caring profession, whatever it is, it's just going to make it easier. So that's one thing that can be really helpful and can be really freeing. And also I recommend getting, you know, before you go to bed, firstly, getting rid of all the worries onto paper. So all the things that are, again, making you depressed, making you stressed, that are making you worry about things, just releasing them onto paper, just letting it flow. Again, you're not going to read it afterwards. And then last thing before you go to bed, I recommend a gratitude journal. So you're writing down at least 3 things that you're grateful for. But you're not just writing down 3 things. It's not just like, I'm grateful for my dog, my bed, and the garden. You write down more feeling and how it makes you feel. So I'm grateful for my dog because I just love the way she greets me at the door when I get in from home. And when I stare into her eyes, we know we have a deep understanding and spiritual connection. And it's so healing to be able to stroke her and know that she's being healed as well as her healing me. So you're putting much more feeling into that gratitude journal than just a list of 3 things. And if you put that in, do that last thing before you go to bed, I find that really helps to improve the quality and quantity of your sleep. It helps reduce you waking up stressed in the night. And it just allows you to slip off to sleep again easily if you do wake up. And I find those really pivotal. And I recommend that to my patients.
Oh, Dr. Allie, I love all 3 of those. I love journaling. I think journaling is one of the most amazing things that you can do. I really love the letting go of the worry, because that helps the brain to sort itself out. Very powerful. But I've never heard of the gratitude journal in terms of the way that you've described it, which is really lovely. Not just, as you said, I'm grateful for the sofa or this fan, but why? What's the energy behind it? Why do you feel that way? I love that.
And then if you slip off to sleep with those thoughts in your heart and soul, it just gives you so much better sleep.
Yeah.
And then you wake up more refreshed and more relaxed. So it's really helpful. And it helps you to process emotions. It helps you to overcome obstacles and nurture your self-esteem.
Yeah.
It helps promoting. So the other episodes of journaling, they help release frustration. They help promote forgiveness, and they help enhance your overall well-being.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a very powerful healing journey. I think if you did this for if you've never done it before and you'd started to do this, I think after a while you would see a significant difference in your self-esteem and self-worth.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Certainly helped me all the way through, especially when I was going through medical school.
Yeah.
With a broken back.
Oh, ouch. It's funny, when I first started doing inner work and journaling, and one of the things I used to really struggle with was being grateful, just noticing what it is that I would be grateful for. And I just couldn't find anything. But I think over time, you do a little bit and you do a little bit more, and then you do a little bit more, then suddenly it becomes second nature and it becomes easy.
I really noticed that when I did the energy healing training, 2004, I suddenly started noticing the sky. And I'd be driving to work, and instead of just stressily holding the steering wheel and focusing on the road, I'd just look up at the sky and notice the clouds and the beauty of the sun. I'll just look at the trees and notice the way the sun's glancing off the tree leaves. And it just allows you to take a deep breath and just allows you to be more in the moment and stop worrying. Likewise, that road rage that you can develop so easily when you're stressed and burnt out. I now see a red traffic light as an opportunity to
oh, nice.
Just breathe, because you're not going to get there any more quickly by stressing about it. So it just gives you an opportunity to breathe. Maybe do your pelvic floor exercises. That's another thing I do at red traffic lights. Being a pelvic floor doctor, and it just gives you an opportunity to take a step back out of the rush and stress that so many of us are living in now.
Yeah, absolutely. I really
and that has such a big impact on mental health, hormonal health, burnout.
Yeah. I just wanted to I just wanted to acknowledge and say thank you for coming on and doing this live, after considering what we've spoken about during this conversation about being visible and talking about things that other people that can judge you harshly for. So I just wanted to say, thank you. I really appreciate it. And I think that I'm sure lots of people feel this way. So I'm really grateful that you're sharing it so other people can hear it.
Thank you.
And I love the exercises. I am going to do the last one myself. I already journal.
Yeah.
And I don't worry as much as I used to because I've sort of trained myself out of it. But I love the gratitude and stepping into the feeling of it. I think that's a great exercise.
So much more powerful than just writing down 3 things you're grateful for.
Yeah. And once you step into the energy of it, I mean, the belief is that you attract more of it because you're in the energy of it.
Yeah. I have got a gratitude journal as a download. So if anybody would like to just direct message me after the event, I can send them the link for that.
Fabulous. I can pop it below the video as well if that helps. And then people can get hold of it later on as well. That would be great. Yeah. Dr. Allie, is there anything you would like to finish with? Any final thoughts, any final words?
Just, I know that many of the people that you are talking to have had a lot of trauma in their lives and may feel unheard by their doctors. I'd just like them to allow a bit of space for the burnt out doctor in front of them as well. Because when we as doctors are burnt out, we get more snappy and more judgmental and more stressed by running late which we do run late if we do listen to you. And so, yeah, I know it's tough in today's world. We are incredibly lucky to have the National Health Service. I don't undervalue it at all. When you look at how much people in other countries have to pay and have to save up for their health service. But just spare a thought for the burnt out doctor in front of you or on the phone.
Yeah, absolutely. It's happening to all of us now, I think.
Yeah.
It's not,
Yeah.
we're all
As the
experiencing
universe is moving forward, you know.
Yeah, I think it's almost like we're in a very difficult transition.
Yeah.
It's like the storm before the norm. There's the group psychology, isn't there? Storming, performing, and norming, I think it is. It's like, I almost feel like we're in the storm at the moment before we sort of have some sort of normality back. That's my theory anyway.
Yeah.
I'm sticking to that.
For sure. Reprieve soon.
Yeah. Dr. Allie, thank you very much for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Wendy, and good luck, everybody. Take care.